aid to disabled, poverty reduction projects, basically any project where communities or groups need to work together in a more participatory manner. We facilitate workshops, we teach cooperation skills, etc.
You also work with people living with disabilities. Can you tell us a little bit about this? Do you have any memories of this work that still stick to mind?
Yes, I have been working with these issues for most of the time that I've been here in Vietnam. There's a disproportionately large number of disabilities in Vietnam. The average country, even in a developed country, 5%. There'll be people will have disabilities. Here it's around 12% for whatever reason. So we tend to have a lot of work in this area. Disabled people tend not to be the people who are out in society getting to find out where the connections are, how to get things done. They have, on exact opposite, they tend to be by themselves. So the idea was that the disabled community needs to organize itself. We trained disabled leaders to form self-help groups. We trained them in the soft skills that I'm using to help organize disabled people in their communities so that they can start getting assistance as a group, as a community, rather than as individuals.
Your connection to Vietnam dates back long before 1996, which we've said was the year when you first started living here. You first came here in 1966, yes?
1966, that was the year I graduated from college in a very conservative, sheltered part of America. The school I went to was kind of famous for social work. They were also famous as an anti-war group. When I graduated, like any 21-year-old, I wanted to see the world, you know, and I figured, well, you know, join a voluntary agency. I joined this group called International Voluntary Services. And they had projects around the world, but very large projects in Vietnam. I worked with 2 Vietnamese teachers, and we would form these lessons, and then we'd go around to the various districts, and the district teachers would
gather.
work. So I'd help set them up, and the my 2 Vietnamese colleagues would do the teaching. I was a facilitator. Okay. And I was really impressed that, you know, we went out into districts. I was an American in a country where Americans were carrying guns, and yet no one ever tried to harm me. I mean, I was a teacher, and they sensed the difference between a teacher and a soldier. Really quite a sophisticated culture. And I liked the food. The food was never a problem. I loved the food.
Now, after you left, after 2.5 years, you mentioned, you didn't go back to the United States.
No, I was part of this anti-war movement, which was really quite large in America. There was probably 50 million Americans that were very displeased with with our government here in the war in Vietnam. But we have 350 million Americans, so 50 million were allowed to express their displeasure, but still the government went ahead with the majority. So a lot of us really left America. I went from here directly to Taiwan.
And you stayed there 20 years.
Stayed there 20 years. I visited home, but basically I've been in Asia for the past almost 40 years.
What brought you from Taiwan to Vietnam?
It was a combination of a lot of things. Guilt is probably one of the strong motivating factors. But
how so?
Well, any person that's been in a war zone, very often that is a defining period of your life. It's so riveting, the experience, that you have to kind of have trouble sorting it out, particularly if you're young. And I was pretty young, at least young emotionally, when I was here. So I came back to kind of understand myself better. I mean, I didn't come back here with, oh, I'm going to help Vietnam. Vietnam does not need my help.
Why?
I mean, Vietnamese are some of the most intelligent people I've ever met. And your country's amazingly rich in natural resource. You got smart people. I mean, Vietnam's doing fine.
So there was kind of a sense of guilt coming back here to Vietnam.
Yeah, I would say when I first started coming back, I apologized. I mean, everybody you run into, somebody lost some family member or somebody. And I would apologize. And they would say, no, Dan. You don't need to apologize. It's not you. You know, you were one of the little guys. You're one of the little guys like us. But we Americans directly elect our government leaders. So we feel responsible for what our leaders do. It's a bit of a different feeling that even though I never carried a gun, never killed anybody, I still feel like I should do something, or I felt like I should have done more to stop the war. There was always that feeling, and that brought me back. You know, I had a bit of a feeling, well, am I going to be accepted when I go back? I mean, we did just such terrible damage to your country. I was in Cafe Mai. Back in '96, Cafe Mai was probably one of the few coffee shops around that sold coffee beans, and Mr. Mai was actually running it. He was there that day. And I had bought a kilo of coffee, and he was grinding. And it takes a long time to grind a kilo of coffee. And about halfway through the process, he turns to me and he says, "Are you French?" They have a tendency to think that Americans are huge people. And I'm small and I speak Vietnamese. So he assumed that I was French. I said, no, I'm an American. He drops what he's doing, comes over, and he shakes my hand like I was a long-lost relative that had come back. And it really touched my heart, you know. I mean, I never asked him why, but it was, I mean, just the expression of it. And that's not the first time or the last time. Another time I took my bicycle to Hoang Kim Lake one morning because I was going there to exercise around the lake. And the guy that watches the bikes wasn't there. I was there too early or something. So I asked this woman who was selling bananas along the side of the street, I said, hey, can keep an eye, because I know she was always there. I knew she was reliable. I said, did you watch my bike? You know, I want to exercise. I don't have a lot of time. And no. She didn't want to do it. And I was just chatting, and she said,